Hi guys, I just want to make a quick video about Legacy. Obviously we've all seen tons of videos about Legacy, but I wanted to kind of cover a topic I haven't seen many people talk about since we heard about the release of these servers kind of from Blizzard a few days ago. So I wanted to talk about mainly the kind of progress race and competitive environment behind Legacy servers really, and obviously with vanilla in mind but with a nod to future expansions they may release down the line. It's a part of a game I found myself really enjoying on the private servers I've been a part of. It's by no means for everyone, in fact it's quite a small part of the game, but important enough for the longevity and kind of health of the server, and I think we're going to get some kind of really exciting times ahead. So now, like, by competitive, what I mean is now that Legacy servers have been announced, it's a very real possibility that we're going to see some of the best players from some of the best guilds around the world right now in retail come back to vanilla and try out the content. Why do I think they would do that? Well, it comes down to kind of two main factors really. The first would be like the timing. The date Blizzard decided to release the Legacy servers is a kind of big deal here. If it comes kind of in a quiet period of retail where the best guilds have already cleared the newest content and have everything on a kind of perpetual cycle, then it's not too stupid to assume these kind of pro players are going to want to do something slightly different. Something will kind of keep them on their toes and playing the game whilst being able to experience the content they might not be familiar with. Remember, kind of vanilla came out 10 years ago, over 10 years ago now. And kind of many of these players might never experienced that content before and only heard kind of rumours about how difficult it is compared to retail, etc, etc, and how complicated or all these different things, and they might want to try it out for themselves and see how much they can kind of push the game. You know, getting their teammates into a Legacy server, using their guild name and seeing if they can have as much kind of success in vanilla as they enjoy in retail. Vanilla is kind of a very different game to retail, and I think it's an enticing kind of prospect for these guys, especially like I said, if current content is stale again, you know, depending when they release the Legacy. And on a side note, some of these guys as well are streamers, and what kind of better way to get WoW's new Legacy servers out there for the world to see than have the biggest pro streamers with the largest audiences playing Legacy. This is why I also kind of speculate, you know, and this is a speculation of course, that Blizzard kind of might introduce an official competition setup for vanilla raid progress and PvP again. Official leaderboards, competitions, streaming of raid races and PvP competitions, all shown at things like BlizzCon, for example. This is just the tip of the iceberg for what we could expect and what Blizzard could do with this now that Legacy is official. Yeah, there's huge potential here. The second reason for the retail kind of pro guys taking interest in vanilla is the difficulty. I'm sure we could talk for hours about what I mean kind of by difficulty, but I feel it is a topic that's been argued to the ground really. But to keep it brief, I'm kind of well aware of the retail raiding mechanics being a lot more fleshed out, and therefore kind of producing more quote-unquote tense environments than vanilla back in the day, and that's to be expected. But vanilla's difficulty basically stems from kind of coordinating 40 people to execute commands and maneuvers in unison, as well as making sure every consumable for every encounter is only a finger away when they need it. And yeah, there's a lot of consumables in vanilla. Prep work before you go into, you know, before you even enter the raid was a big deal back then, and it was pretty impossible to ignore, especially when you're dealing with those bosses that require completely different resistance loadouts and consumables. It's going to be really interesting to see basically how pros react to this change in approach to raiding, if they do play. It requires kind of many hours more gameplay, many more so than retail at least. And this is mainly down to those consumables, the kind of resistance gear farming, and the nature of world elements like world bosses, which kind of drop crucial gear when it comes to, you know, that gives you a massive upper hand when new content releases. I'm thinking, you know, the 4 dragons before AQ, or Zuragos with some of that Nax gear, that kind of thing. To be in the top 1% of players in vanilla is really a very different world to retail as it is right now. The main question would be, when they release this, will these retail's top players make decisions to kind of dedicate that time, or will they just treat it more like a hobby project? And I think that decision would be determined by how much Blizzard wants to involve and invest in vanilla at big events like BlizzCon and various other tournaments they run throughout the year. So kind of, will vanilla get a spot there? Will we see old school Warsong Gulch and the Arathi Basin get an official kind of tournament set up with a dedicated shoutcast team. Where we have the two best raid guilds on Blizzard Legacy servers getting airtime and going head to head in those kind of heavily publicized races we see from the retail guys. We'll have to wait and see really for all this, but I'm sure like me you can kind of see the huge potential here. But when it's all said and done, the fact that Legacy is coming out should get everyone pretty pumped up. It's not just the type of players I've been talking about in this video. It's going to be everyone. It's going to be a great experience when they release this. Battlegrounds will be popping 24/7. The world will be so active, so alive, which is really important for a vanilla server, but that's a whole other video. And all types of players are going to have a massive blast, really. It's going to be great. I know I'll definitely be logging into Elwyn Forest on day one. And I hope alongside many others who, like me, are kind of bursting at the gates to get our favourite dollop of ice cream after all these years. So thanks for bringing us home, Blizzard. I'll see you guys in Azeroth.